I want to get into this toll road thing, and I think we both know pretty well where you both are on this, but I'm interested in why you think this city's still so passionate about this, and what you might be able to do to build some kind of consensus around this issue in keeping with your position. Do you want to start, Mr. Ryan?
Sure. I think it's an issue of transparency more than anything else. City of Dallas is not a Fortune 500 company. It's a city, it's a government, okay? You go back and you look at the original 1998 bond ordinance that was passed, that we presented to the voters, and then the 2007 debacle, essentially. And now here we are, 2015, people don't have a park. And in my humble opinion, it's all about the park, always been about the park, should be about the park. We talked about a parkway. We didn't talk about a toll road, certainly not of the size and of the cost that we're talking about now. And to me, that's an example of a taxation without representation issue. We didn't talk about, we were not talking about a link for regional mobility. We were talking about a parkway for a park. That was the original intent of the 1998 ordinance. And so to me, you gotta build trust. I don't care what side of the issue you're on. I don't think that the city and the powers that be have been very forthcoming with respect to how we got here. And I think that starts with the city council. And I think that's how you begin to basically build trust. It's not a winner or a loser. Everybody on both sides are sincere. Everybody on both sides wants the best for the city. I mean, I don't challenge the sincerity of anybody in their best of intentions. But when you look at some of the arguments and you look at the way things are done, for example, this panel of experts. I mean, who's paying for these experts? How do they fit into the governmental process? And if I'm a city council person, one of 14, how do I look at that? And how does that fit? And then how does that resonate with what was the original balanced vision plan, which I understand, it was a good idea, but the Army Corps of Engineers, sorry dude, with Trinity, we can't handle that the way you guys wanted it. Okay, so we basically go on to Plan B, and Plan B is alternate 3C to the Army Corps of Engineers. I mean, and don't take my word for it. If you look at the 10 past presidents of the American Institute for Architects Dallas chapter, they've done a wonderful, piece. I don't know if I brought it with me. It tells you, man, dude, it's apples and oranges. It's not what the voters basically had in mind. So to me, you got to hit the reset button and go back to ground zero, because I think at the end of the day, everybody really wanted a park, not a link in a regional mobility transit plan that basically, once again, just makes us a glorified bus stop on the way to the suburbs.
I think it's a great question about why we're so passionate, why people are so passionate about this. And I think the answer is that there is a belief that Marcos is kind of articulated, that this is an example of doing it the old way. The way this city's done it, that the Citizens Council is bad, and that everybody in the north is out to get everybody in the south. And that we need to kind of take on the powers to be, overthrow them, and everything's gonna be okay. And fundamental, point one in our case is this tollway. And so when you put on that, infuse this power struggle that allegedly is happening in the city onto that road, it creates young people say, well, I don't want those old people telling me what to do. And you have a lot of emotional import on the road itself. I think, first of all, I think that's all hogwash, okay? I cannot find where this power structure is that is telling people what to do. I find this city unbelievably democratic. We have elections. We have a weak mayor form of government. We've got unbelievable input by neighborhood associations on every issue we face. In my 4 years, I am still trying to find this power elite that makes these decisions. I know it's easy to put it that way since I'm a business person, so business is probably against the neighborhoods and characterize it that. I think it's bad mythology and it's not healthy for the city. Now, the bigger question then is, how do you bring the city together? I do believe going back to the balanced vision plan is the right thing. And I think it's wrong to characterize everybody approved the balanced vision plan because they really just wanted a park, but they didn't want an access that relieved traffic. I think that was part of it, and I think our citizens believe that traffic is a major issue and we have to deal with it. What they don't want, and I haven't found anybody that wants it, is something that doesn't work in consort with this place that could be very, very special. And we don't want the Trinity corridor to be a home for a highway and nothing else. And I don't want that. And so it's very simple. My belief on how to approach this is what I've done in the last 6 months, okay? Create, the best designers together to say, help us through this. Help us figure out how we can come together, because there are people like Marcos that says, I'm okay with a parkway, okay? I think you had 2-lane, okay? And then we've got 6-lane over here, and say, okay, now at least we can start talking, okay? Is there a place that is something that we can get enthusiastic about? I know it's frustrating to the paper and to other people because they want to kind of catch you in a lie, okay? That it says in this statement here, matching up with this statement, ergo, there is a proof that there's a lack of transparency and a lack of trust. I suggested a different way, and let's just all take a deep breath, okay, while we're going through the federal process, and get these folks to give us some opinions, and hopefully there's some ideas that are going to come out of that people can coalesce around.
There you have your dream team at work. When are you going to stand next to an easel and show the slide of what they've come up with?
I will tell everybody that tomorrow at 12:30. Okay?
You won't be at the easal tomorrow at 12:30.
No,
You'll
I
tell us
will answer
when.
his question at 12:30 tomorrow.
What's magical about tomorrow?
Because I'm very transparent with all the media. And I'm open and inclusive with all the media, okay?
Well, you said you want to go back to the balanced vision plan
Yes.
just a minute ago, but you've also said you support alternative 3C.
Mhm.
And so I think, I'm not sure that there's any eagerness to catch anybody in a lie. I think it's maybe a lack of understanding of how those two positions justify themselves.
Yeah, I believe that once you make a statement to the federal government, you can't go around and say, well, not really.
Well, that's the problem, right? Because
Okay,
we
well,
come,
let me just
please,
finish,
excuse me.
okay? Let me finish. You've got to look at this and say, does this potentially the right thing for Dallas? Okay, and I believe potentially it does. Does that mean, okay, that's what we should do in the immediate near future? Those are two different questions, and that's why they come together.
May I respond to that, though? Because there's where the mistrust comes into play. I agree with everything the mayor has said in terms of the mythology and all that wonderful stuff, but it unravels with one salient point, and that is who authorized alternative 3C to be sent to the Army Corps of Engineers, and why was not the voters told about that? Why wasn't that discussed at the city council? Why are we reading kind of like after the fact that what is before the Army Corps of Engineers in Washington, D.C. is a 6 to 10 lane, high speed, limited access, toll road, not a parkway. I went to law school in D.C. I know what a parkway looks like. And when you go back and look at the original ordinance, it talks about a parkway. It doesn't talk about a toll road. How did we get from 1996, a $246 million parkway, where the goal of the parkway was access to the parks, not part of a long link regional 9-mile transit link in 2015 is going to cost us 1.8, maybe $2 billion. We're still looking for another $900 million of that. That's where the mistrust comes from.
But was it not Dallas City Council that took a vote more than 10 years ago saying that their choice was to combine Parkway on the eastern levee side.
And the operative word is parkway, not a 6 to 10 lane, limited access, high-speed toll road.
I
So
gotta just,
park-
what was the 10 lane, did I miss the 10 lane?
Yeah,
Yes,
where
sir.
is that?
I got the 6 lane.
Alternative 3C,
Says that we're gonna do 10 lanes?
6 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, how did we get there? And so, when we talk about the mythology, I understand that context, but if you're not someone that's in tune to the machinations of City Hall day in and day out, and you look at your history, what happened in 1996, what happened again in 2007, like I said before at the Velo, I don't remember the last time we all got together and voted on let's call it a 6 to 8 lane.
Well, 10 lanes is a distortion, is it not?
I think a toll road's a distortion.
But is 10
From a
lanes not a
parkway.
distortion?
You mean a distortion for what was submitted, or a distortion period?
Distortion in characterizing exactly what NTTA.
Well, I think if memory serves, this is how this was
I
described
don't
by
think the bench
the,
is big enough for a 10 lane.
well, I could basically go back and look at it, but if it's 6 or 8 lanes, it's still a
Why
toll
don't we do
road.
this? Why don't you, if you could afterwards, show us where it says 10? We won't tie it up
Okay,
now and
right.
get it, but we would, because I've read a lot about 6, I've not read anything about 10. I'd like to understand that better.
But do you believe that the original plan was not for a high-speed road? And I'm talking.
No, absolutely not. No,
Okay, what speed limits are
okay,
you talking
well,
about?
so see, okay. I can't help it, I'm still a lawyer, sorry, apologize. And as a bond lawyer, I look at ordinances too. Now, an ordinance does have to give a municipality a certain amount of flexibility, right? You can't be very detailed about the street corner and where the money's gonna go, blah, blah, blah. You have to have a certain amount of flexibility, and to be fair, there was a lawsuit, kinda like challenging what happened in 2007. And the folks lost in that lawsuit because they basically said, city council should have the discretion to basically implement what was the original intent, basically. But if you go back and look at the 1996 ordinance, it doesn't talk about a toll road. To me, there's a big distinction between a parkway and a toll road. And to me, a parkway means what? Access to a park.
Do you like what is in DC? Rockford?
Yeah.
Okay, cool,
I
that's
like it.
interesting.
I like it.
That's 4 lanes,
Well, 2 on each side.
okay, but it's 4 lanes.
Yeah, and it has access to a park.
That's
Right,
interesting.
and a little stopping point. It's not a multi-lane toll road,
Okay.
high speed that you gotta pay for.
Wasn't the balanced vision plan at 55 miles an hour?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
I don't, to tell you the truth,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was.
remember,
Are you suggesting, Mayor, that that's what your team's gonna recommend?
No, I'm not, I'm trying to find, because you're very smart to say, how do we come together? And that's good to say, all right, now I kinda, if I was able to pull that off, then I got Marcos's
Right.
support.